have reached chapter 5, the timeline. And this is where all the magic happened. This is where you drop all your clip and do your cut and mix everything. So let's have a quick overview of all the tools you have on that timeline. So here we are on the timeline. The timeline is actually this part. This is where you drop all your stuff, and there's a lot of tools related to it, so we're gonna see them one by one. The first one is one that I don't use very much. It's the index. It's just right here on the left. When you hit it, you can see everything that is on the timeline, but as a list. There is something that is called the skimming tools, which is that line over here. That's the skimming tool, and it's represented right over here with that line just right there. But if I click on another clip, just like here, it will select it on the timeline so I can see where I am, and I can also do a search to find something more easily than just scrolling like this on the timeline. So this is the index. Then we're gonna move a little bit on the right. There is two arrows, one over here and one over here. Those arrows are made to move from a project to another. So if, for example, I'm actually on the French version of the video you are looking at right now, just right here, and if I go to the English version that I didn't start it yet, right here, and I move to another project that is already done, just like that, I can move back to the previous project just with that, go back in timeline history, like that, and go back to the other one I was at the beginning by pressing the left arrow again. I can come back to the next one, or the previous, or whatever, you understand. You can move from a project to another using those two arrows. Very useful when you work on more than one project at the same time, or maybe if you just want to go grab something, an effect you already created on another one, so you go look for that other one. You go on it and, I wanted to take that back and copy it, and then I could go back down and search my project, but I can just go back with that arrow and paste my effect just right here. So that's the way to go quicker. And then we're gonna move a little bit on the right over here, where we can find the skimming tool. The skimming tool is actually that orange bar that you see following my mice. So if I deactivate it, I don't have it anymore. I can move from a place to another if I click with the mice, but it doesn't follow anymore. Very useful tool. I think I leave it enabled all the time. The other one next to it is the audio skimming tool. It's the same thing. Well, it's linked to that other one, because if this one is disabled, you can see that it's a bit grayed out, but it's still a little blue. It's confusing, but you see, it follow it. So when this is enabled, we can't hear it actually because I mute my speaker, but we would hear those kind of sound when I'm moving. And the reason why I keep it enabled is because when I use the left and right arrow to move on the timeline, I like to hear the sound of it because I use it very often to make my cut. The next one, I'm gonna move to that part of the clip because there is few layer over here. As you can see, there is 3 layers of video, but there's also 3 layers of audio. There is my voice and there is 2 sound effect. And if I would like to just play it and only hear my voice because I get disturbed with the sound effect, well, I could use that button over here to isolate that part. So we can still see all the video layers, but now I can only hear that clip. You can also use the shortcut option S to use that feature. So if I move somewhere else and I want to isolate that section, I can do it. Actually, there was 4 layers because there's the music down there also. So this is for the audio isolation. The next one is the snapping tool. It's to enable or disable
the magnet. What is the magnet? Let's say that I put my skimming tool right over here and I go here to take, I don't know, maybe that effect. When I will move it in the direction of the skimming tool, you will see that at some point it will snap to it. See, snap. And when I move it away, de-snap, there's always that distance. There is that gap where I can't go. It will always snap to the skimming tool. And it's the same principle. If I move on the left, you will see when I will reach that joint between those two clips, it will snap to it. Snap, 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 snap. It will always try to snap on something. If I disable it, well, I get rid of that effect. I can move exactly wherever I want. Sometimes the snapping tool might be not great, but I think most of the time it's a great thing because you move with the skimming tools exactly where you want, and then you can bring your media and snap it to it. I like to use it. That's the way I work. Then here you can play with your interface. There's a zoom out and a zoom in. I absolutely never use that because when I'm on the timeline, I use command plus and command minus. I think it goes better. But you can play with the style. So if you only want to have the audio or much more audio and a little bit of the video, well, you can play with it. Or if you want to be easy on your computer, you can have absolutely nothing. I personally use that one, and you can play with the size of the video with that one over here. The one right there, well, I never use that. Right next to it, there is the Effect tab. When we go inside here, there is some things that are useful and some that are not. If, for example, I go in blur, I think the Gaussian blur is kind of great. And you can play with the amount over here. So that is something that is built in inside Final Cut. Great tool, great tool. There's also the mask and keying. So if I bring a draw mask, I could create a mask just like that and play with it as I want. Or I have that graduated mask that is also great. The use of it is to usually put something under. It's just an example. There is something that are great. There are other things that I don't think those things are very useful. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think this is very useful. So you have those kind of things that you are just like, why? And you can purchase some. On the top, you have the video effect, and at the bottom, you have the audio effect. And when we move on the right, over here, you've got the transition effect. And for those one, most of them look very, very terrible. Very terrible. The only one that come with it that I use is the cross dissolve. So, well, it's a cross dissolve. It's in effect just like that, but you can also use it by using the shortcut Command T for a transition, and it creates that cross dissolve transition. But again, if you want a great one, there's some that you can purchase, and I made a video with the best one that I use all the time. It's in the description. Let's just do a quick comeback on the Effect tab at the bottom. I said that there was the audio. Again, it's the same principle. Some are great, some are not. The one that I use the most, I would say it's in levels, and you've got limiter. And if you have the Logic software, you will have an even better one. It's the limiter over here. You just take it, you drag it on your clip, and it will be inside the speaker. We hear the audio inspector, and you can see the limiter is here, and you can play with it. I already had one. Anyway, let's shut that down and go back to the middle. Here we have three other features. The first one is the cropping tool. You can use the trim. I don't know what's really the use of it, because, well, when it's done, it just create that. I just never go that way. I go into the video editor, the video inspector, and I use the crop just like that instead of going inside that menu. There is the magic. Oh, no, I'm not done. There's some other things here. The crop over here lets you crop like that. That neither I don't use it. I prefer to go in the video inspector, do a scale in, and I can also move the position if I need. That's the way I do it. But the last one, I do use it. There's the can burns, and this one creates a starting point and an ending point. And you can also move that window as you wish. Now, if I play that, that will create that zoom out effect. Actually, you can see there's an acceleration and a deceleration. It's because if I go back inside here and hit the right click of my mice, there, as you can see, there is an easy in and easy out. I can use it also linear, and it would go that way. So that's the feature that I use. Now, if I want to disable that, I would go on trim and hit done, and that's it. So that's for the cropping tool. Then you got the magic wand. Let's select something. This one, you can use it to automatically balance your color, match color between that clip and another one, enhance the audio, but it's not so magical. The result is not so great, so I just never use it. And finally, here you've got the retiming tool, useful to slow down your clip, the one that is selected, make a hole, use the blade speed, we're gonna see that. But I never reach it over here. I've just learned the shortcut over here. And what I do if I want to retime something is that I will use Command R for retime, and I can use that little part right over here to slow it down or accelerate it. Otherwise, I can hit that arrow over here and go into custom. From here, I can reverse the clip or go back to forward, or choose a very precise rate, or choose the duration that I want that clip to last. There was also the retiming blade. Was that the name? Blade speed. As you can see, it's Shift B for blade. So Shift B will create that little incision inside the clip, and I can slow down that part or accelerate it also. And the great part is an accelerating area. So it will play 77 and then gradually upgrade to 100 inside that gray area. So that's another great tool. Then you can see a couple of timers. This one is actually where we are on the timeline. So as you can see, where when I move with the skimming tools, the time change. Then we've got that one, which is the total time of this project. So the very last frame is at 48 minutes, 23 seconds, and 21 frame. And if I select something, what I have here is that frame that lasts 2 seconds and 15 frame. That's another way to express thing. And if I select some click, I can now know that this does 10 seconds and 1 frame. So that was a lot of tools that we have see inside that timeline, and that makes a lot of shortcut to learn.
I highly recommend that each time you need to go in that menu and reach something, you learn that famous shortcut so that next time you can access it more quickly. I use my mice the least possible because I learned the shortcuts of everything I use. If you want to get used to it more quickly, you can add a cover on your keyboard with all the shortcuts on it. I don't have anyone to recommend because I did not use one since a while, but I left you a link in the description if you want one. That video was only a chapter of a bigger video about video editing with Final Cut. And you can see it just right there. Hey, see you there. See ya.